Welcome back to another episode. We are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month and the Navy's 247th birthday, and we're going all the way to Naples, Italy, and speaking with Fleet Master Chief Johannes J. Gonzalez. Fleet Gonzalez is the most senior enlisted leader of the 6th Fleet over the U.S. Naval Forces Europe and Africa. Prior to this tour, he was the Command Master Chief over the Naval Leadership and Ethics Center. Fleet, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kike. I tell you, I am stoked to be here. I am honored to be here. It is amazing to see you. I'm so excited to see you and then to see you in this platform and be able to share some thoughts with you and the team. It's pretty exciting. So thank you for having me.
No, my pleasure and honor for you to have us actually host you in this platform as we discuss leadership and the U.S. Navy birthday. Folks, it is not 5, 10, 15 years. We're talking about a whole 247 years that we've been roaming the seas, making sure that our fleet and our homeland is safe. And as we discuss this topic of leadership, and before we get into it, Fleet, why don't you just give us a little bit about your background and then we'll get started.
Okay. Hey, so I was born in Panama, the Republic of Panama. I had the great opportunity to immigrate to the United States when I was 16 years old. Actually, I was about to turn 17, to be honest with you. As you look back and you're like, wait, I came in August of 1988 to America, and in November I turned 17. So my sister brought me to America. She's currently married to an Army family, to an Army man, and they saw the writing in the wall or some things that were going on in Panama. Also, I wasn't doing very well. I wasn't doing very well in school. I wasn't doing very well disciplinary wise. So she gave me an opportunity, and she wanted to adopt me. They couldn't adopt me because I was over 16 years of age. So they brought me on a student visa to a little place called Fort Polk, Louisiana, down in Leesville, Louisiana, little small town, amazing place. And from there, I went on to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Interesting enough, in Panama, I lived right across from the Army base. So I've always seen Army people, military people, GIs, square away uniform, shine boots. And always caught my attention. I always said, man, one day I want to be a soldier. Man, one day I want to be a soldier. And I got the opportunity to come to the United States, living in 2 Army bases. He was my very first example of what a senior enlisted leader should be. He was a first sergeant, and Oscar Holness. And I tell you, every time I saw him leave every morning with his shine boots, I was like, man, I wish one day I could be a soldier. Well, I couldn't be a soldier. The Army didn't take me. But eventually, at 24 years of age, I ended up finding myself in the United States Navy. It was a fluke. I was on a payphone, literally crying because I couldn't join the Army, and my time in the United States was about to come to an end. And there comes this Puerto Rican guy. Unbelievable. It was a Puerto Rican recruiter that saw me, and then he heard me speak Spanish, and he came up to me and he talked to me about the Navy. He was dressed in white. For a moment, I thought he was trying to sell me some ice cream, and I wasn't trying to have no ice cream at the moment. And then he talked to me, and next thing you know, 2 weeks later, I was in Great Lake, Illinois. I didn't know how to swim then, and I still don't know how to swim. But man, it's been a phenomenal ride, and I'm excited. That's really my Navy story. I've been in quite a lot of destroyers and cruisers. I consider myself a destroyer man. I was a prior gas turbine electrician, and then I converted to Navy counselor, and then I went into the command senior chief path. Best decision I could have ever made. And then of course, command master chief, and here I sit ever since 2011. I've been a senior enlisted leader for a couple of commands. the USS Reuben James, Naval Base Guam, which was the most critical tour in my career. It was the toughest tour personally and professionally. Then I went on to US 4 Fleet, and I'll give you some highlights later on that tour. Then I came here to Naples as US 6 Fleet senior enlisted leader. Then I left for the best tour that I've ever had, one that I'm having a hard time still, which was the Naval Leadership and Ethics Center. The people, the team there, the mission, everything about it. If I could turn back time, it's not often that I say, did I make the right decision, and doubting myself. And this is one of those times. I keep playing that back, and I tell you, what a tremendous opportunity. I learned a lot. I heard a lot of perspectives, and it was just a phenomenal tour. And then I reported here in August as the Fleet Master Chief for Naval Forces. So that's me. I'm married. I got 2 kids. My son is Christian. He was in the Navy. He was an AO. And then he's currently out. He lives in Jacksonville, Florida. And then my daughter, she is currently serving. She's a first-class petty officer. She's an intelligence specialist. And she's stationed here in Europe. She's in Germany, in UCOM, and just came back from a little deployment mission down in Romania. So I'm proud of her. And my wife of 26 years, she's been with me from the beginning of this. And Christina has always worked at Fleet and Family Service in some sort of system that provides support to our people. So she is a phenomenal mentor to me, is a different ear, different perspective. And so we're a Navy family, in and out, a Navy family. That's me. Thanks for asking.
Well, that's wonderful, Fleet. And, as you're talking, I couldn't help but say, go Navy, beat Army, because in this instance, we did beat the Army. So glad that this one Puerto Rican and white and shining armor, right? He came in and rescued you. And amazing how things line up. And we were discussing before we got into recording how you and I shared a Navy ship, the USS Vincennes, that has its own history. And for those listening, go ahead, check it out. It's very colorful and very interesting, but amazing how things line up for us, even when we're not looking for it. The Lord has a way of doing things like that. You talked about, your experience at the Naval Leadership School. I happened to go to both the Senior Enlisted Academy and the CMC Cobb School, so I know that environment. And you must have witnessed, undoubtedly throughout your career, a lot of leaders that impressed on you and said, you looked at and said, man, that's something I want to emulate. You mentioned your first example, first sergeant, that did a great job in setting that example for you. But what pivotal leadership moment did you learn the most from while in the Navy?
Let me go back to one piece that you stated just a minute ago. I tell you, I was at the point of no return, right? I was having to come back to Panama. And after being in the United States since, almost 17 years, at 24 years, all I knew was the United States. I grew up here, really. At some later times of my teens years, I didn't want to leave the United States. My dad always said, make something of yourself. And I felt that I was going back to Panama if I had to go back with nothing. And, that young Puerto Rican man came at the right time. You couldn't have said it any better than that. He was like an angel. Never saw him again. He's probably older now, but I will tell you that thanks to him, I am what I am today. I have a family, the family that I have today, and the career that I have created with me in the United States Navy. It was all thanks to him. And, again, as you grow older, you wish you could find him and just give him a big hug and tell him thanks because he saved me. And that's just the reality of things. When it comes to leadership, I tell you, there are two particular groups in the Navy that I am, extremely, I would say, attracted to. I love that group so much because of what they have done for me. First is the first class petty officers mess. My first true mentor was a young man called Nigel Knight, gas turbine electrician, second class. He was my first LPO, my true leading petty officer on board the USS Donald Cook. And, he was from Jamaica. He was a hard worker, studied really hard. And rest in peace, Nigel. He was killed in a drive-by shooting there in Virginia, actually, in Norfolk. When he was a first class. I had just left them to go to Japan, actually, to on board the USS Vincennes. Nigel inculcated on us the fact that we needed to study, the fact that we needed to learn our trade, the fact that, work is always first. However, you have to take care of your family in order to put work first. Nigel had so many things that he put in my head that I really couldn't understand, even savings, right? Nigel made us all sign up for TSP long time ago. And he always used to say, you know what? One day you're going to thank me for that. And until this day, I always say, wow, thanks to him, I got into that habit. And we're okay. We are okay thanks to the leadership of Nigel Knight. So the first classes, I've always looked up to that group. I've always gone to that group. And I always remind them that some of them are not going to make chief simply because, there's a quota system in the Navy, right? But to not take for granted the phenomenal leadership and experience that they bring to the table. Because again, thanks to Nigel Knight, I am what I am today. He made me study. He mapped me or capped me during those days. I was advanced to E5 under the Command Advancement Program. And it was thanks to Nigel Knight. And that little shop of ours, that gas turbine electricians on board the USS Donald Cook, we were pretty tight. And the second piece is the cheese mess. In boot camp, I was struggling. I was having a hard time passing my exams. And again, the chiefs wouldn't give up on me, right? They asked on me for a week. They sent me back for a week. But he told me, if you study and if you pay attention to me, I'm going to make sure that you get back to your old division 924. And I did that. I listened to the chief. I studied. I paid attention. He invested so much time on me that it was amazing. And then throughout my career, there has always been either a chief or a first class that have put so much time and effort on me. Then that makes me go into a few names out there. In my time in Japan, which was a very crucial time for me in my career, there was a particular Master Chief, Dave LaJoy. He was my command master chief on board the USS Vincennes. And I was an E5. I was a good gas turbine electrician. But I fell in love with career counseling. And, he told me, he was a prior EM, electrician's mate, and he said, okay, if you're serious about that, then I want you to become engineer and officer of the watch, engineer and duty officer. I want you to excel as a gas turbine electrician. And then I'm going to see if I can help you become a career counselor. Sure enough, to make story short, he gave me an opportunity. I became the command career counselor for the USS Vincennes as a second class petty officer. And my package got denied a couple of times because I was on the underman rating, gas turbine electrician. They were giving a bonus at the time, $60,000 to reenlist. But I fell in love with career counselor even more. I became an engineer and officer of the watch, engineer and duty officer. I qualified as much as possible. I made first class as a gas turbine electrician. And at that point, he gave me the opportunity again to stay as the command career counselor, stay as an engineer, and then help me convert. And I converted thanks to him. And I tell you, Dave LaJoy, he pinned chief and master chief and command master chief me. He is the guy that put the cover, my cover of a chief petty officer and as a master chief in Hawaii. I love that man, but why? One of the things that I love about him is the fact that he took chances on people. I saw him often as I was the career counselor, seeing disciplinary review boards, non-judicial punishment, and I saw how much he just went to bat and how much he always said, "We exist. Chief petty officers exist to take chances on people. So I'm gonna take a chance on you and on you and on you." And that stayed with me. I was like, wow, we have no responsibilities written in writing anywhere as chief petty officers, but we sure can take some damn chances. And that's what he did. And he taught me that, and he just stuck with me. After that, I met another phenomenal Master Chief, and he's Mac Ellis, Herbert Ellis. Um, Interesting enough, his wife was a first-class petty officer. It was an NC, and she helped me convert to NC without me knowing. They were stationed in Hawaii at the time, without me knowing that he was a chief petty officer or any relations to that. It wasn't until I got stationed in Hawaii after I became an NC that I realized that Mike Ellis was married to Yvette Ellis, the NC, the true boss of the Ellis family. But you know, she helped me. She helped me convert. She taught me so much. And then there comes Mike Ellis, and Mike Ellis asked me once, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be a command senior chief, a command master chief." And he asked me why, and I went back to him and I said, because of what I saw with David LaJoy. I don't think I would be standing here today as a chief petty officer on board the USS Lake Carrier at the time if it wasn't because of him. So those are two of the many. There are so many chief petty officers that have not been able to become master chiefs or senior chiefs, that are retired chiefs, that I will tell you, they are much better than me. And I know every day that I wear the anchors of a master chief, of a chief petty officer, that they're leaving their advancement through me. There's too many to mention, and I will tell you, I will do a dissatisfaction if we try to mention so many chief petty officers that have just had a significant impact on me in every way, shape, or form. As I talk a little bit about my leadership style, I'll probably mention some of the things that I learned from them, right? But the one thing that I have learned from them is to be able to affect people. All of them, every single one of the chiefs that I have been able to be mentor or led by, they all had that one common theme, and that's that they took care of people, and they took care of people in a sense of holding them accountable when they needed to hold them accountable, but also coach them and take them to levels higher and make them better than they were. And to me, that's always stuck with me.
And you know, that's amazing. We're listening to and I'm listening to you as you're talking, and you mentioned this one thing, putting your token of confidence in someone, even when they may not have shown that they deserve it at the moment, is such a powerful tool of exploration and discovering the potential of someone when they can't see it themselves. And you know, that Master Chief did that for you. And I'm so glad he did, because look, we're talking to Fleet Master Chief Gonzalez, right? But as leaders, we don't ever take the time to honor that ability, that thing that we have as leaders, to ingest hope and faith and a good future in the eyes and in the minds and in the hearts of someone that may not see it for themselves. And we sometimes we take that for granted. Now, as we're talking about leaders and those that influenced you and your leadership style, what were some of the things that you learned as a leader from others that did influence your ability to execute your leadership style?
I tell you, leadership is hard, right? And I'll say to you that I don't like to say the higher you go, but you know the positions that you get into, where you're thinking that perhaps you can influence a little bit more. Sometimes it gets hard. It gets hard because you can never make everybody happy. And you generally want to make people happy. That's what we do. I always tell sailors, nobody comes here to be a bad leader or a bad person. We're actually trying our best. Our best might not be the best for other people. They might not see it as the best. And sometimes we might even seem that our intentions are ill, when really that's not the case. You know, I often remind myself, I know leadership is hard. I know that being a leader in any way, as a soccer referee, I'm a leader. And the players, some just don't like the calls that you're making. And you're thinking that you're affecting the game, the flow of the game in a positive manner. And they see it as if you're approaching it in the wrong way. So I grabbed that and I kind of put it in my own mind as being a chief petty officer, being a command senior enlisted leader. I'm like a referee, right? And some calls are going to be bad. Some calls are going to be good. Everybody is not going to be happy. It hurts when some of them are unhappy to the point where they start talking or saying things about you, and you wish that they will give you an opportunity to listen to your perspective. Because at the end of the day, there's always a reason behind everything, and there's a perspective about everything. So there's three things that I've learned from fellow chief petty officers and first classes that I think have been crucial to me. And I call it a rip effect now. I often say I served in Hawaii 10 years. I call it a rip effect, but I don't know how to surf. But number one is relationships. Relationships. Building relationships, it isn't just about, you know, building relationships in the military, right? Your home, your relationship at home has to be strong. Your relationship with your God, right, has to be strong. Then your relationship with your fellow teammates, your chiefs, your first classmen, your blue shirts, your officers, that needs to be strong. And that relationship, as you form it, becomes a matter of getting different ideas and different way of doing things. The tighter the relationships are with other people, the more you learn from others, and that's going to affect your leadership style. So that's the first R there. Then the influence, which I always said as enlisted sailors, that's really what we bring to the table. We don't have a lot of authority, but we have the ability to influence. So we grab that relationship that we build with everybody, to include our families, our kids, all of that has an effect on our leadership style. And then we grab that and then we influence the decisions of the commanders, the decisions of our own household, right? It's not, you know, I can't come to Christina, my wife, and say, we're going to do this way. Nah, it's about, you know, hey, listen to me and how I'm going to influence her decision, or her is going to influence my decision. I see it that way. It's the same thing, again, going back to soccer, right? How do I influence not blowing the whistle at all times? My presence close to play might just be able to diffuse a situation. So if I can get as close as possible to sailors, if I can catch a sailor and talk to them as strong as I have to or as soft as I have to, for me to influence them that, hey, I'm watching you and I care about you. And sometimes I'm going to be a little rough with you, but it's because I want you to do your best. It isn't that I'm doing this because I want to tear you down. I'm doing this because, you know what, at the end of the day, I know you can do better than this. I've taken a lot of chances with a lot of sailors, and I've been able to influence that decision of commanders to say, you know what, let's take a chance. Let's take a chance on that sailor. And today, some of them are officers. Today, I salute these guys and gals, and I am just proud to be able to say that, right? I mean, those are the things that, you know, when you retire, I hope that I can look back sitting in my porch and say, you know what, that's okay. I've made some mistakes, but there's some goodness here. And then the last one is perspectives. You know, in the cheese mess, right? We have a cheese mess, of course. You being a chief, you know that that cheese mess exists because we have the ability to go inside the mess and just talk and listen to perspective. So we're building a relationship, we're influencing each other, but most importantly, we're listening to their perspective. There are many times where somebody brings me a problem to the table, and the first thing that I think is, man, I wish I was in the mess so I can throw it out there and listen to their perspectives. Sometimes I've been slow on decisions or recommendations, and I do it because if I think that I have the opportunity to share the problem with a couple of chiefs, I do it because they have, if I have that battle space, I use it to be able to get that perspective from that chief that perhaps knows much more than I do. You know, I came into the mess young, you know, I came into the leadership position young, so I don't know much. But there's a whole bunch of chief petty officers that have seen so much, and I'm able to ask them, you know, what are your thoughts? You know, just recently I was going through some struggles in my career, and I was calling Toby Ruiz almost every 3 days, asking him for advice, for his thoughts. How can I get, you know, how can I get there? Or what do you think about this? Greg Vidori, another great mentor of mine, a giant in my life, personally and professionally. I know that if I call him or I call somebody like Lou Cruz, so many chiefs that I know that they can give me a perspective. So I often tell chiefs, if you have battle space, use that fountain of wisdom that we talk about. Because yes, you have a lot of knowledge. We do. Each individual, each one of us have it. But that rip effect, that relationship that you created with those chiefs, that influence that they might have in you might give you a different perspective in how to attack a problem, solve a problem, or make a recommendation. So those are the three things that I've gotten kind of from my time as a leader in the Navy, if I may. Then I have my own, right? I have my own leadership, you know, ways. My first one is my faith, right? I believe in this country. I believe in the American sailor. I believe in people. You know, I came to this country with nothing, a book bag and $75. And today I'm standing here sharing my thoughts with you, and you're going to put this somewhere and somebody's going to listen to this. And I would tell you that you have to have faith. You know, that guy saw me on the phone, and when I was losing faith, next thing you know, even though I couldn't swim, I found myself in the United States Navy. I went back to Panama to meet my first ship in USS Kidd, because that's where the ship was. And I got there dressed as a sailor, after leaving Panama for so many years. That's amazing. That's faith. I have faith on the American sailor. Over and over, they have proven that if we call upon, we're going to fight. And we're going to fight with whatever we got. And guess what? We're going to do our best. And that's why I tell people, believe in our teams, believe in our sailors. They're the best. This is the greatest generation that we have. They're smarter. They question us a lot. They ask a lot of questions. But you know what? Less than 1% are trying to be armed forces members. Less than 1%. So to me, they're special. So that's my faith. And then my faith in God, right? You have to believe in something. And I tell you, I think I'm surrounded by angels. You are an angel. You to come at this time and ask me to do this, which is, I think, is a critical time. You know, it's the Navy's birthday. My birthday, my Navy birthdays are counted now. I'll be retiring here probably in less than a year and a half or so. So I have that. Then it's, you know, it's Hispanic Heritage Month. And here I am, I sit, and finally, after 20-something years plus in the Navy, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I'm from Panama. And I'm really thinking about that piece a lot, more than ever. I represent not just a Panamanian, but immigrants that come to this country with nothing. And somehow they can do something with themselves. I'm that person. And if I can do it, then others can. And people like you that gives us opportunity That's how we get here. So that's my faith. My faith is huge, and my purpose. You have to have a purpose, right? Today, my purpose was to be here with you. I prepare a lot for it. I thought a lot about what could I say, what should I not say, who could I recognize, because there's so many people that I could say thank every day. Every day, there's so many of you. It's overwhelming. I could not be here right now. You made me think of my sister who took a chance in me and brought me to the United States, even though I was a troublemaker in Panama. She took a chance on me. Oscar, her husband, he set an example for me. So because of that, I have to have purpose. And then the last one is my enthusiasm. I always said, you can face any problems with a smile. Now, sometimes that might seem, to some people, might seem like you don't care. But I always say, if you can face a problem with a positive face, you might solve that problem or not solve that problem, but still be okay. And at the end of the day, you try your best. So I always try to be enthusiastic about what I do. And sometimes I lose steam, right? Right now, I've lost steam. My wife is not here with me in Italy because she doesn't have a visa. The visa process has taken more than 3 years. 3 months. Sorry about that. It can't take 3 years. I'll pop smoke right now. But more than 3 months, and I can't get an answer for that. And then I see that so many other families are affected by this. And I lost a little bit of steam. And then I got a mentor that called me and said, hey, knock it off. I need you to be at 100%. I need you to get there. And then when you fix your problem, you're going to be fixing that problem for other families. So I got to find that enthusiasm back. So I find myself with a lot of faith. I always believe in purpose. And I always believe in having that enthusiasm that perhaps can get somebody else moving in the right direction. Hopefully that makes sense. And thank you for allowing me to share that with you.
Yeah, no, and I have no doubt that a turban person is gonna find steam somewhere. And as you discussing the rip and perspective, and then you were sharing how you seek the thoughts of others. And funny enough, you mentioned Toby Ruiz, because Toby was on our initial Hispanic Heritage Month episode, so you'll see some of that from him and get some perspective on how he came up through the military. But let's share. I want to ask you now for you to share your thoughts on the future of the Navy, because the Navy we were in and you're still in, but as we grew up, there's been so many changes, right? You mentioned blue shirts, and immediately I know what that looks like, but there's some sailors that have no idea what that looks like because they've been in camouflage for as long as I can remember now. And so
that's a good one. I like that.
What are your thoughts around the future of the Navy and where it's headed?
Hey, Kike, I'm telling you, as a chief, from chief to chief, from husband to husband, from an American citizen to an American citizen, from our Hispanic roots. I'm speaking to you from the bottom of my heart, not because I'm a fleet master chief, because at the end of the day, when I retire, all that goes away, right? What goes away, what doesn't go away, is my belief in the American sailor. And I will tell you one more time, I've seen them do what I thought was the impossible. I've seen sailors give their life for this service to our country. And I think we all take that for granted at times. I think we get so caught up on the fact that this is a new generation. It is a new generation, as it should be, but it's the generation that is going to take us to higher levels in whichever way they want to. But the one piece that I can honestly tell you is that there is an enemy out there. There are several of them, and they want to hurt us. There is undoubtedly that we're seeing it right here in Europe. You have an invader to a country, and that invader to that country perhaps will want or will decide to do harm to us too. But the one thing that I know that the American sailor will not go down with is without a fight. You know, it's interesting when you see the theme, right? The theme for this year, right? 24/7 on watch. That's, you can't call it any better than that. I've been in 27 years, 27 different names for celebrating our Navy, but 24/7 on watch. That's what our teammates bring. And I will tell you that if we get called upon, those young guns are gonna fight with everything they have. And they're gonna bring the teammates, that small percentage that perhaps is going through so much in their own personal life that might want to give up, because that could happen to anybody. I don't like the critics that say, you know, our sailors are giving up. No, you could be giving up. Any of us, I could give up. It's our teammates that are gonna bring us back into the fight because of those relationships and that influence that they have on us and their perspective that we must continue to fight to have this beautiful country of ours that has given so many people like me, opportunities to excel, to have a family of their own. And this is what the future brings. I think the future is super bright. I said it again. I just said it last week. If I could do it all over again, I will do it all over again. I will do a lot of things differently because I've learned a lot in the last 27 years. I would perhaps be even a little bit of a better sailor, not necessarily making it to the command master chief or anything like that, but just a better sailor. The sailors today have so much stuff going, social media, the pressures of just being on deployment and your family sending you problems while you are on deployment dealing with problems. And they're dealing with that. They have the resiliency to be dealing with problems at home while on deployment. That if you just take that small piece and understand that, you know, I remember in my first, I don't know, 8, 4, 5 deployments, we didn't have connections with home. There was no Facebook, there was no DM. So you were disconnected from the home front. Today, we got people doing real work while at the same time providing some sort of perspective or influence to the wife or husband that are having a hard time at home with their kids. That itself is impressive. So when people tells me, where do you feel that the young sailors are today? They're phenomenal. And they are going to do great things for us and for our country. That's my way of thinking. I'm going to go down with that. That's me. JJ Gonzalez, the father of a sailor, the sailor, the chief, the teammate. I honestly believe on these sailors today.
You know, there's always a conversation. I had this conversation with my wife about the current youth, right? The current youth. Everybody has their word to say about the current youth and where they may be or where they may not be. But what people forget is that those youth came from us. So if they don't have something, it's because we didn't give it to them. So but before you get into this whole debate about what they don't have, you need to reflect on what you didn't give. Because as adults, we're the ones rearing the next generation. And like you, Fleet, I feel that every generation brings its own flavor, right? As older people, we may not understand it because we didn't grow up in it. You know, you and I grew up in an era where computers were not mainstream. I mean, you know, we were still using DOS to log into the computers, right? And by 94, that thing had changed from when I came in 89. 89, you had to do C:, and then you had to execute, right, to actually make things happen. Now you just turn on a PC and everything's done for you, right? So there's a lot of perspective differences there, but as adults and as an older generation, I always admonish remember, if they don't have it, it's probably because you didn't give it. So it puts
Such a
us in
powerful
check, right?
words. Thank you for sharing that. It's powerful words. It's true.
So, we talk about the future of the Navy. We've talked about your past. We've talked about how you came into the nation, and amazing accomplishment of being selected as a fleet master chief. Folks, if you're listening and you don't know anything around the fleet, there's not but a handful that serve at any given time in our Navy. And so this is an elite group of leaders that have shown through their trajectory in the Navy to be trusted with this position. So I'm so happy that the Navy trusted you. You've been a source of inspiration since the day I met you. I've never seen you on a soccer field, but I could just imagine. But in the mass and in our Navy, you have been such a great example of what it is to lead from humility and knowledge and perspective. So share with us now your leadership highlights or pearls of wisdom, as you some refer to it, from your time in the Navy.
I tell you, there's quite a lot of them, right? But being able to see my son graduate out of boot camp, being able to see my daughter graduate out of boot camp, both of them, I've never talked to them about the military. And in fact, most of their years, their young adult years, I was not there, right? I was at sea, and quite a lot of those years. To see them become sailors, to see them donning that, that hat, that white hat. To me, it was probably one of the biggest leadership lessons on my own, because I told myself, maybe I had something to do with that. Maybe by them seeing me love this country, love this Navy, love being a sailor, maybe I influenced their decision making. And I don't think nothing can top that. At the end of the day, when I go, that's going to be one of the highlights of my leadership bucket of things that I think I had an effect on. The other one, though, is pretty interesting. It's not long ago. I was sitting in the Panama Canal in my uniform with Vice Admiral Sean Buck. He was a Fourth Fleet commander. I had not been in Panama in uniform or representing a fleet. And when I was sitting in Panama, in the Panama Canal, I was sitting around with several Panamanian officers. And one in particular asked me some questions about my own leadership style. And I share those thoughts with him. Nothing different than what I share with you. And next thing you know, he asked me to share this with several of their conscripts, and I did. Several years later, one of them sent me a note saying he got promoted to mayor in the Panamanian military, and he came back to me and he said, although you are now in the American Navy, and I am here in Panama, I wanted to share with you that even though you got a large military and we have a small military, your way of thinking had an effect on the way that I decided to continue to serve and stay serving in the Panamanian Armed Forces. And I said to him, you know, I'm an American. I am here to protect and defend the Constitution of the great country that has adopted me. And you are Panamanian, and you swear to protect and defend that Constitution, just like they, you know, I'm willing to do it over here, you doing it over there. And it was the first time that I didn't hear anything negative about me serving in this country's military and now in the Panamanian military. And it felt good. It felt good as a leader, as a person, as a Panamanian, because that's what I am, right? Yes, I am an American, but I was born in Panama. You know, that the article that they made about me, that we, you know, we talked prior to, there was some interesting comments there about, you know, I'm no longer Panamanian. And that hurt, right? It goes back with leadership, right? Leadership is not easy. Some people says mean things about you, and you sit back and you think, wow, man, can I give you my perspective? Please call me. Let's talk. So those two things are the best examples that I can use about so many things that I have been able to kind of affect or influence. There's too many to mention, but I use those two to remind myself that when the going is going bad, when things are, you know, are going bad, I remember those little chapters where my leadership perhaps impacted something or somebody in a positive manner. And I use that as fuel for my enthusiasm, right? I use that to build on the faith that I still have in me. Because if I feel in any way, shape, or form that I'm losing faith in this organization, I will punch. I will, because this organization deserves nothing but faith. We've been doing it for 247 years, man, and we're ready. Anytime, anywhere, we will go, we'll fight, and we will win. That's decisively. That's my way of thought. We've proven over and over again that we can do it. So hopefully that makes sense.
No, it makes a whole lot of sense. And as you're talking about the article, and folks, I like to point you in the direction of the embassy over there. The U.S. Embassy has created a great article around Fleet's ascension to his position and his heritage as a Panamanian. But I always remember in times like these that commentary may not be as positive, that a prophet has no honor in his own home, right? Right. And so if they did it to Jesus, I don't mind that they do it to me, right? It's one of those things that come with leadership. You can't please everybody, and you cannot be in everybody's corner all at the same time, although we would want to, right, as leaders, represent everyone in a positive way. There's just so many diverse ways of thinking and perspectives that you may not meet, one or two or maybe many. But you be encouraged that you have set a great example as a leader, enough to at least have me in your corner. Right?
Thank you.
But I'm not the only one, and I know that. As we get to this part of celebration, we're culminating 247 years of service to our nation as ocean goers, right? Those that defend the seas, those that go out. And I love the 24/7 always on watch, because we know what that is like. We know exactly what that's like.
Yes.
I was a watch stander for almost all my career, and 12 on, 12 off. That's the way it is. And but there are sailors that are like you, at a phone booth, not understanding what's going on, not understanding why they can't get where they want to go, and they're coming in fresh off our streets in America, all across the states, and they're coming in and they're looking for some guidance. They're going to get some undoubtedly at boot camp, but some may come across this episode as we celebrate this Navy birthday. So what are some leadership tips or advice you may want to give incoming sailors, men and women from our nation that are entering the military now?
Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. It sounds like a cliche. It sounds like easy, like just a talk, but it isn't. You have to believe in yourself. You know, many times I didn't believe in myself. I was afraid to speak because my English, perhaps I was going to say something with the wrong accent, in the wrong way, and I didn't want people to feel or think that, you know, I was any less intelligent because of the way that I was speaking. Perhaps my train of thought was going so fast that I couldn't really think about how do I say it. Can I find simple words to express what I'm thinking? And I finally started believing in myself. I started seeing those small fights, those, I call them fights, that my leadership style helped, or just my hard work, or my work, period. Because you can't work hard every day. There are times that, you know, you're just not okay. Life is interesting. Life throws problems at you. And at the end of the day, as long as you're performing and you believe that you're doing your best, that's what you have to do. So believe in yourself. Don't cut yourself short, right? You can do it. If I can do it, you know, if you can do it, Kike, others can, right? And I always tell people, take on opportunities. Man, the sky is the limits. I shared with you guys early on today that there's so many officers that I salute now. And I saw them struggling as young sailors, enlisted sailors. And all they did was believe in themselves. All they thought is that, you know, if they work, you know, if they work a little harder, if they study a little harder, maybe one day they could be officers. And today I sit here and I salute them. And then the last part of all of this is, you don't have to make the Navy a career. Remember that. But do remember, I tell them all, every single one of them, that they're all special. It's a special breed. Less than 1% of citizens coming to the United States military. Less than 1%. Less than 1% are willing to say that they will support and defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign or domestics. Those are some pretty big words. The Sailor's Creed at the end, it says, I'm committed to excellence and the fair treatment of all. I am a United States sailor. Those are words that we live by and you're living by, whether it's 4 years, 6 years, 20 years, 24 years. If you serve this country in its military, in the Navy, you're already special. Remember that. And if you can do it with the demands that the military puts on you, you can do anything outside. Because I was a concrete driver. I picked cotton. I did, drywall. I've done quite a lot of work before I joined the Navy. And I will say to you that this is a very demanding job. Physically, mentally, it's hard on the family. It keeps you away from your family. But all of that, I always look at it, and it's made me a more resilient person, a better father, a better husband. And that's what you get as you serve 4 years, 6 years, 20 years. So I tell them not to sell themselves short, and to take every single opportunity that they get thrown at, right? At the end of the day, the sky's the limit in this military of ours. In the Navy, the sky's the limit, right? And then the very last thing, your service is a service that goes above and beyond just words, right? Thanks. I always remind those young sailors that thanks to people like them, 27 years ago, a person like me was able to join in the Navy. And as those sailors then grew and led me to where I am today. That's their legacy. And some of them I'll never find. I will never be able to say thank you to them. That's the beauty about serving this beautiful military or this beautiful Navy of ours, they can't forget that. I remind young sailors that all the time.
And a great reminder indeed, because we just never know the true impact of our service and the people that we come across on a day-to-day basis. We never understand that even just the image of a person or a sailor walking past you in a properly donned and taken care of uniform is enough inspiration for someone just even looking at you. So never limit the amount of impact you have in your service. Great advice there, Fleet. Thank you for that. If someone is listening to this episode right now, has gotten inspired, wants to meet Fleet Gonzalez or speak to Fleet Gonzalez, what's the best way for them to contact?
Okay, my email has been with me for many years. We'll never get rid of it. So it's gonzalez.johannes@gmail. And I tell you, please shoot it. Don't hesitate. Send me a note. I'm on Facebook, Johannes Gonzalez. DM me, send me a message. I will respond. I take pride, and if I can't respond, I'll tell you. I will come back to you because I'm somewhere in the middle of the ocean or in the middle of the air, but I will respond to you. And I hope that if there is any questions in your mind and you want to ask, just don't hesitate, please. I would love for you to listen to my perspective, or me being able to give you my perspective. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. And we'll have that, folks, as part of the show notes of the episode and on the video. So you'll be able to get a hold of Fleet Gonzalez. Fleet, thank you so much for taking this time, allowing me to be one of the very few podcasts that you've been on. I'm so appreciative of that. And thank you for the many years of service that you have given our nation. Thank you for taking those opportunities of greater responsibility. I'm so happy and honored to witness your trajectory. You know, we first met as you was heading into the first Command Master Chief billet, and then from then on, I just was able to witness you from afar as you continue to move on. But so blessed to know you, so blessed to have served with you, and thank you for being with us today.
Hey, thank you, Kike. I tell you, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. It's an honor. It is an honor for a giant like you to say that that you're proud of me. I'm taking those words to heart. I appreciate it. I always say I'm standing in the shoulders of giants, and I owe the chief's mess, I owe the first class mess, and I owe all those leaders that took the time to invest in me, and not just invest in me in the good times, but in the bad times when things were going rough. Those that came across and picked me up and helped me get to where I needed to be. And of course, my beautiful wife and my two awesome kids that have always been there for me and are willing to continue to serve this military of ours. So thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity, and bless you and your family. And hey, don't give up the ship.
That's right. Well, folks, today's episode is sponsored by Triad Leadership Solutions. And if you've enjoyed this episode and learned something interesting about the topic covered today, the Navy's birthday, make sure to subscribe and let us know by leaving a comment right now. We're always looking for new ideas and guests that we can add to our show. So if you know someone or have a topic that you would like featured on the podcast or want to sponsor the show, we'd love to hear about it by emailing us at triadleadershipsolutions@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode where we dissect leadership from another angle. And as we like to end the show, success to you.